Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Charlene Farley, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship on the Emerald Coast, located in Valparaiso, Florida. As Unitarian Universalist, UUs come from a liberal theological background. We believe in good actions over dogma. We find value in all sacred texts, spiritual aspirations, and the freedom to be true to our own search for meaning. This morning, the Reverend Aaron White, Associate Minister at the UU Church of Dallas, shares his sermon entitled Outgrow Yourself. It was first recorded on May the 17th, 2020. As you'll learn, Reverend White is not alluding to pandemic binges that add on the pounds, but rather suggesting how the pandemic might be the stimulus to live lives of integrity. Enjoy.
Struggle and Joy by Vance Bass. Every day brings struggle, every day brings joy. Struggle of another, to be joy in another's life. May this flame remind us to carry our light to each other and to the world.
Good morning. My name is Sophia Lopez, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration at UUFEC. And I'm going to go ahead and read you a book. Our book today is called Bear Feels Scared, and it is written by Karma Wilson and illustrated by Jane Chapman. In the deep, dark woods by the Strawberry Vale, a big bear lumbers down a small, crooked trail. Bear's tummy growls as he looks for a snack, but it's cold, 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 so the bear turns back. He is not home yet when the sun starts to set, and the bear feels scared. Bear shakes and shivers as a storm starts to howl. Bear mutters, "What is that? Are there spooks on the prowl?" The path gets dimmer and the sky grows gray. Bear looks to and fro, but he can't find his way. He huddles by a tree and he wails, "Poor me." And the bear feels scared. Meanwhile, back in the warm, cozy lair, friends start to worry for the poor lost bear. "It is late," Mouse squeaks, "and our bear doesn't roam." "There's a storm," cries Hare. "Shouldn't Bear be home?" Wren tweets from his perch, "We must all go search. What if Bear feels scared?" The friends bundle up and begin to prepare. They form a search party for their lost friend Bear. But Bear is all alone and he sheds big tears. There's a noise in the forest and he feels big fears. Bear trembles in the wind. How he longs for a friend. And the bear feels scared. Badger lights a lamp and he shouts, "Let's go!" All the birds search high while the rest search low. With a flounce and a flutter, they set off together. They trudge down the trail through the wild, wet weather. They call, "Ho, Bear, are you there? Are you there?" And the bear feels scared. But he perks up his ears. Is it Mole calling out? And is that Hare's voice? Does Bear hear him shout? Wren, owl, and raven all squawk from the sky. It is Bear, he is there, and they sigh a big sigh. By a tree waits bear 10 feet from his lair, and the bear looks scared. With a flap and a flurry, all the friends gather near. They give him bear hugs. They calm his bear fears. Later in the night, all clustered in a heap, the bear spins stories while his friends fall asleep. Cuddled up tight, they snore through the night, and the bear feels safe. So there's our book. I think everybody feels scared. And especially right now, when there's a lot of scary stuff going on in the world, it's really easy for us to feel overwhelmed and to feel scared and uncomfortable. And what I really like about this book is that it reminds us that we don't always have to feel that way. And it's okay to feel that way. Do any of his friends make fun of him for feeling scared or feeling uncomfortable out there in the storm? They don't make fun of him. They just come and they help him and they give him hugs and they make him feel safe. And I think it's really important to remember that we all feel scared and that's okay, but that there are things that can help us and make us feel safe. So think about what those things are. For my kids, they each have a special stuffed animal and a special blanket, and they love hugs and cuddles, and that makes them feel safe and loved. And I think that's what we saw a bit with Bear. They were all cuddled up and felt safe, and knowing that people are going to be there for you. And we all have people that love us, and we have families and friends, and those are the people that make us feel safe. And it's important to reach out to them and let them know if you need them, especially right now when things are kind of scary and uncomfortable and uncertain. So I hope that you can think about things that make you feel safe and ask for those when you need them, or just let people know that you need a little extra attention. All right, well, thank you so much. Have a good day.
A few weeks ago, when it was Easter time, my children had a little kit where you grow butterflies at home. Butterflies being the almost stereotypical symbol of transformation and change in the world. In the mail arrived caterpillars in a small container and a setup where they could hold them and take care of them, where they fed them food. My boys gave them names, every day attentively watching to see the moment when they would crawl up onto a little pillar and attach themselves, become a chrysalis, and eventually open as a butterfly and fly into the world. I watched my children wait with excitement each day, watching for any sign of transformation. Finally, the caterpillars became the chrysalis. We waited and waited and waited and would see the chrysalis begin to shake and move, something forcing itself out of this now rigid container. They celebrated the day that the butterflies emerged and went outside to release them. All of them had had their individual names and were set free as they left, except for one. And this butterfly had a part of its body that still looked just like the chrysalis. A wing that wouldn't fly, that hadn't opened, that hadn't turned from chrysalis to butterfly. It was like it was holding on to being a caterpillar, at least a part of it was. And as the other butterflies flew away into the air, this one had to be tenderly set on a plant with the hopes that it would be able to live and nourish itself that way, but there was something about it that wouldn't let itself move on to the next stage, holding on to being the caterpillar. And that's not how it works. Normally, the transformation of these animals is not the bright and shiny, happy reality that we assign to it. It's beautiful in the end because you get a butterfly, but the transformation of caterpillar to that is gruesome. Once the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, new studies that can show the inside of what's happening show that the transformation of that creature into the next is bloody and gruesome and wild. All of the caterpillar's internal organs melt. Nothing is recognizable, and what you get is this soup of a creature. Completely unrecognizable from what it used to be, except for a few cells. Tiny cells that scientists call imaginal cells. While everything else is indistinguishable, everything else is unrecognizable from what it used to be, a soup of a creature. In this gruesome mix, there are a few cells that remember what that creature is supposed to be. And in the right environment, they activate and turn on and take all of the death and decay and destruction of the caterpillar and resurrect it into the butterfly. But none of that happens unless the caterpillar dies. Completely goes away. Led by these imaginal cells. Something left in it that remembers what it is supposed to be in the next chapter and uses every last bit of its old life, turns it into decay, and renews it again. That beautiful transformation that can show up on a greeting card or a children's cartoon that can seem almost saccharine and trite only happens with the utter destruction of the self and an integrity of what it's supposed to become. In the world right now, I think it would be easy for us to rely on the outside changes of the world and not our internal transformation, because so much is changing around us. How we work, how we get food, how we see and love our families, whether and how we worship in communities, how we get groceries, how we go about the everyday aspect of our lives. Everything around us feels like it's changing, especially for people who want to mark moments of transformation in their lives. If you want to get married to somebody that you love right now, it's different than it used to be. If you're graduating from high school or college, if you want to bless your children, if you have a birthday party that you want to throw for yourself or someone else, it just doesn't look like it did even a few weeks and months ago. A lot of these rites of passage and moments of our lives that are changing are asking us not to depend on the party or the graduation or the diploma or even the memorial service to do the work of recognizing how we've grown and changed. But if we rely too much on those moments, back before this world right now or in the future when things have settled down, if we rely on the diploma or the memorial service, on the birthday party or the graduation to tell us who we are missing something important in life. We're cutting ourselves off. In Greek mythology, there's a character called Procrustes. And Procrustes is a bandit and a robber and also a smith who makes things in a workshop. And in the mythology, Procrustes has a bed in his home that stays the exact same size, and he would invite visitors and travelers on the road to stay in his home and sleep in the bed, and while they were asleep, Procrustes would come in and make that person fit the bed no matter how big they were. Either stretch their limbs gruesomely until they fit the bed or cut off what didn't fit. if we rely on the external moments of our lives, our job, the diploma, the birthday party, the graduation service, the report card to tell us who we are and how we are doing, then we are being stretched or cut off just like that. And you get to decide. You get to decide whether or not you are willing to let go of the life you had to have a new one, or to stretch or cut yourself to fit the bed that you or others have made. Now, I know that in my life, I have often been quite happy building that bed for myself. Imagining a little life and a little self, a simple, recognizable life with no surprises to it. It's easy, especially in America, where we start asking 8-year-olds, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's tempting for us to decide, this is what I will do to make money, this is where I will live, this is who I will love and where I will sleep, this is who my friends will be, and everything will be just fine as long as that's what happens. And that is almost never what happens. Life does not go as planned, and that is a good thing. Whether you're a 14-year-old in our coming of age program or an 18-year-old graduating from our youth program, whether you are in your 30s and 40s in your career life or retiring, whether you are entering the last chapter of your life, there's always a surprise left if you let there be. And in my experience, making that bed that we have to stretch ourselves into or cut ourselves off from is often built by the things we love. It's often built by the things people praise you for. When people tell you you're very good at something, it can feel delightful, but it can be the box that you will fit yourself into for the rest of your life. It can often be the very friends that you hold dear, the relationship, the workplace, the job, the career, the place you live that you love that will constrict your imagination about who you can be so much that you would rather stretch yourself or cut off a piece of yourself than be transformed. It's usually not your enemies or strangers who tell you who you're supposed to be. But the God of many names, the mystery beyond all naming, the God of Scriptures, is a God that makes new things from old things, that literally recycles creation over and over and over and requires that it disappear and destruct and come back again. Look at the story of Jesus in the Bible, in the Christian Scriptures. A person who literally cannot be safe in the body that he is in, a person who literally cannot stay static in order to fulfill his mission. In the Christian story, there's a death and resurrection, a literal one. Think of the story of the Buddha and his transformation. A person who has absolutely everything he wants, safety in a palace, a prince with all he could possibly desire. And in order to become enlightened, he has to take on an entirely different life. Can you imagine him saying, "No, this feels good to me"? How much of the world would be lost without his decision to become an entirely different creature? Look at the way that evolution works, or the cosmos itself. The death and decay of plants turning into soil that nourish the next generation. God works by turning over one thing into another over and over again. Why would you be an exception? Why would you or I be the only static thing in the world who could make a simple, predictable plan for its life that nothing would ever change in? You see, often I think we confuse integrity with stubbornness. Often we begin to tell ourselves, this is who I am at my core and I will not change, and pretend like that's a virtue. This is just who I am. But religious scriptures, sources of wisdom and inspiration, are full of people who are not content to stay who they are, and not content to wait for the world to change, for the bank account to be what it's supposed to be, for the job market to look how it's supposed to look, for our life to be tidy and easy and comfortable, to change in relationship with the holy. It's full of people who are changing and changing themselves, not waiting for the world to change. There's a passage in the scriptures, in the Christian scriptures, from the writer Paul. You'll hear this passage a lot at weddings. It's the love is patient, love is kind piece in Corinthians. But just before that and just after that are things that always intrigue me. Just before that passage, Paul says, if I can speak every language in the earth, but I don't speak them with love, then it doesn't matter and it sounds like a clanging cymbal. If I can move and break mountains, but I don't do it with love, it's utterly valueless. Paul's imaginal cell is love. He says, when I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child, but when I grew up, I put away childish things. One translation I love of this text says, now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror, but one day we will see with perfect clarity. I like that image because what it says is not that my growth and transformation, my relationship with God, my enlightenment, or my salvation will depend on the world being different. It will depend on my eyes being different. The scripture doesn't say, and then one day everything will be fine. It says, and then one day I will see with perfect clarity. It's not the world, but the seer that changes there. You see, whoever you are, a teenager, an adult, whether you are at the beginning of the next chapter or your life, or you feel like your life may be coming to its end, it doesn't have to end the way you think. And probably it won't. The life you plan may not be the life you want. There's a spiritual author named Jen Hatmaker who moved from one type of Christian life into another, and during this transition, she was getting a lot of bad feedback. Her career was falling apart, and her good friend Rachel Held Evans wrote her with a message. It turns out that Rachel Held Evans died a year ago at my age, and the message that she shared to her friend who was going through crisis and didn't know what the next chapter of her life would look like said this: Jen, I am going to tell you something right now that you won't be able to know yet, because everything is on fire, and you're scared and you're shocked. But here is the truth. Doing the right and true thing on its own is its own reward and comfort. This will be enough for you. Your integrity will save you. Way before you rebuild or recover or reimagine what your life is going to look like, way before a new community welcomes you with open arms, which you will and they will, you've done the right thing, and that's what matters most. See, there's a big difference between integrity and stubbornness. Between integrity and sameness. This woman to her friend says, I promise you that a new community will hold you with open arms. I promise you, you will have a new self and a new life, but keep what's core to you. It might seem like being willing to let go of the life you have completely and holding on to your integrity are at odds with one another, but they are not. It is precisely your integrity that will allow you to let go completely of what has to die, so that you can become the person you're always called to be. But you have to pay attention to what people praise you for. You have to pay attention to what feels comfortable and planned and simple and safe, because it is often exactly those things that make the bed, the confines, the box that you will stretch yourself or cut yourself off to fit. Pay attention to what people tell you you're good at and you're supposed to be. Pay attention to what feels comfortable. That might be the trap itself. Pay attention to what you believe could completely die so that something else could live in you. It might feel painful or gruesome to watch a part of yourself you have valued and loved go away, but something, if you have it, your core integrity, your imaginal cells, the holy, moving God within you may know who you are supposed to be. And surround yourself with an environment that activates those imaginal cells in you. Surround yourself with a community who will hold you no matter what, with people who recognize there is something good and precious in you that will be reborn over and over again, and know that your life will have many chapters in it, whoever you are. Whether it feels like you are on the cusp of a bright new life, or whether you are scared and shocked, know that at the other side of this moment is someone who will hold you dear. A God who has always known and loved you and will still. And if you hold fast to the core integrity within you, if you hold fast to your imaginal selves, the new life you build will be meaningful and holy and rich, whatever it looks like. May it be so, and amen.
Extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again.